Did you get to pose with the snakes or no? Did you?
No, I don't pose with snakes. I don't want to be around snakes. That's Mac. Mac is really into all that kind of stuff, as you could guess he would be. But all right, 2016 season's here. You know, it's I think it's been about 200 and maybe 21 days since our last game, and you know, it's a long time. I have a bad taste in your mouth, and I think our players have done really a tremendous job preparing themselves to this point. I mean, and then I'm talking, you know, the winter and Blue Dawn and spring ball and you know, on into the summer, and now we're starting and into fall camp right now. So they've done a great job. I think the leaders on the football team have done a great job with them. I think we have some of the pieces of the puzzle put together. So it should be an exciting year. It should be a lot of fun, and I know these guys are biting at the bit to get at it.
Players have talked about holding each other accountable during the time period when their activities are more, you can't make them mandatory. And have you seen evidence that they're holding each other accountable, and instead of just reporting directly to you guys, accountability among each other?
Yeah, we worked hard in the last 4 years on developing leadership, and you know, we're not just talking about seniors when we talk about leaders. So we started with guys that were freshmen back then, and each year, you know, trying to develop them as leaders, and now they've been here 4 years and they are the leaders of this football team. And so, you know, that's one of the toughest things for a leader to do, is to hold his peers accountable. You know, it's if you would ask any of these guys that are leaders, that's the hardest thing, because everybody wants to be liked, you know, and sometimes you have to make some decisions that are best for the football team. It may not be the most popular decisions, and so, you know, that is the hardest thing that they have to do, is to hold each other accountable. And I would say these guys have done a great job up to this point.
Larry, you mentioned having some of the pieces of the puzzle. Clearly, you can always get better, but do you think kind of the roster foundation is in place that you had hoped it would get to when you came here 4 years ago?
Yeah, I think so. I think you know, we're probably one class away, the 17 class getting in here, before we'll be back to full scholarships. But I think we've got a very solid foundation. You know, I mean, we've got a little more experience and age on the offensive side of the ball right now than we do on the defense side. I think we have 3 seniors on the entire, you know, defense. So we're young over there, but we've got some talent over there, so to build with. And so I think a very solid foundation has been set, and I just think we'll get better and better from here.
What 1 or 2 areas are you guys better right now than you were this time a year ago?
Well, I want to say that our offensive line is better than it was at this time a year ago. You know, I want to say that our defensive line is better than it was at this time a year ago. You know, those guys got better throughout the whole year, and I think they have continued to do that in the off season.
How much of I don't know, do you give less patience with an offense that has some of the pieces you've got coming back, the experienced guys that have been in it? Mitch has played, at least been in the offense for a while. Is there less of a patience for mistakes at this point, or are you going to have a higher demand for them than usual?
I really don't have a whole lot of patience one way or the other, you know, and sometimes I've got to, you know, catch myself with the expectations, but they've always been high, and they're going to continue to be high. I mean, I believe that this offense has the potential to be better than last year's offense, but they still got to do it, you know, just because the pieces are there doesn't mean it happens. And so they've got a lot of hard work to do to make that happen, and they've got to want it more than I do.
Aside from experience, how is the defensive line better right now?
Well, I mean, I think that's besides experience, that's where they gained everything. I mean, that's where they gained all that knowledge and the ability to be able to do more things up front, you know, more movement, all of those things that Trey and Gene are going to want to do with them, so that we do a better job against the run.
This is obviously related to doing better against the run. This defense did significantly better in its scoring defense, but not so much in total defensive yards. You know,
right.
How much for you is that a point of emphasis? I know your approach on offense is sometimes I don't care how many yards we get as long as we score the points. Is that the same approach defensively?
It is. We really, I never look at total yards. I don't know how many yards we give up, you know, that way. I mean, really, you know, we're looking at, you know, turnover ratio. We want our defense to have a lot of takeaways. We look at explosive plays. We look catastrophic plays. We look at how we perform in the red zone, and we want to hold teams to field goals or nothing 50% of the time. And then I look at third down percentages, and those are the things that we really look at defensively. I mean, there's only really one stat that means anything on the defense, and that's scoring defense. And as long as they hold them to one less point than we score, then they've done a good job.
Can you share the story of how you found Tom Shelby?
Well, Tom, started looking for a punter. Really started researching, all the punters in the country. And I'm talking about all the schools and looking, who were good on net punt and why, and started really researching, and then started noticing that there was this trend of Australian punters. And, I thought that was a little weird, and so started looking into it, talked to a couple of coaches from some schools that have them, and learned of this group called Pro Kick Australia, and reached out to them, and they started putting a couple of guys in front of us that they thought could play here at the University of North Carolina. And that's how I first found out about Tom, and then it was just, a few phone calls and hoping that when he got here I wasn't going to get catfished. Because basically it was over the internet and over the telephone. I mean, I never saw Tom in person. So I was hoping when he got here that he really was a real person that could punt the ball. And so, we'll see.
Would you classify him as a project at this point?
Well, I mean, Tom hasn't played American football. I mean, so he's got a lot to learn about the game. I think the skill set's there. But there's still a lot for him to learn just about the game of football and all the nuances that that will come up if he is the punter. And we've got to make sure he's totally prepared before we put him on the field. I mean, he's 27, 28 years old, a freshman.
When did he get here? When
Couple
did you
weeks
first get
ago.
him? How's he been received by the other guys?
Oh, they love him. I mean,
I would think so.
first the accent alone, I mean, he's way ahead of the game,
Anybody in particular mocking him already a lot?
Oh, no, I mean, they're all getting to know him, I mean, the specialist, I mean, he's like their father. I mean, he's 28 years old. I mean, so, they were in the cold tubs after practice today. I walked by and I was like, Tom, you doing all right? He's like, yeah, or he calls me mate. Yeah, mate, I'm keeping all these young guys in check, so it's interesting. It really is.
What are you looking to do when you have to get this guy to learn American football? In practice, you're just going over the basics of special teams, the basics of...
Well, he doesn't have to understand all of football. He doesn't have to understand what we do on offense or defense or on kickoff, or he just has to understand the punt game. And so, a lot of off-the-field stuff, just learning the game, showing him film, showing him things that have happened in other games, and I mean, he's an intelligent person. I mean, he understands what's good and what's bad. I mean, so, but you want to really try to cover everything. You can't take anything for granted. That if this happens, here's what you need to do. If this happens, this is what, the things that aren't normal, if you drop a snap, how do you react? What do you need to do with that? All the different things that could come up in a game, we got to cover all those things with him. Because you take it for granted when a guy usually gets here. I mean, he knows the game. Well, Tom doesn't know the game.
How unprecedented of a type of teaching is this for you as a coach? Have you ever had anything?
No,
like
I've
this?
never had anything like this. No, I've never had anybody that hadn't played the game before. He was. They were asking questions in the women's clinic the other day, and they asked, they had Ryan Switzer was there, and they were talking about what it's like to, catch a punt, hold your head up in the air, and 11 people are running after you. And then the next they asked Tom, what's it like to punt to a guy like Ryan Switzer, a really good return? He was like, I don't know. I've never done it, So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It really is, and so we'll see how far we can go with it.
With your defense, we were asking you about this yesterday about install, and you were saying you guys do the install regardless, and then
Yep.
I guess at what point do you sort of pick up the pace on, you know, you said that the install won't take as long in a sense, I think,
Well,
because guys
we-
have experience.
Yeah, let me explain how the install works. I mean, basically offensively and defensively, on both sides of the ball, it's broken down to about 5 days, the whole thing. So, you know, so 25 or 20% of it is going in on day one, 20% is going in on day two, you know, just like that. And this is not the first time it's been installed with them, except for the guys that just got here, weren't in even in the summer. So, you know, they've had multiple times through the year that this install has taken place. It would be the exact same install that went through spring ball with them. So they got install 1, install 2, install 3, install 4, and install 5. Once all of that's in and we've installed it, then we start adding to the offense and defense. You know, so you will have probably, you know, 95% of base offense and defense that could get you through a year, and it got through a year last year. You know, but then we'll start adding the packages that we wanted to add that we didn't add in the spring. So the stuff that went in the spring will continue to go in those first 5 days, and then we will add to it afterwards.
Is it just going to be, I guess, last year though, you did that install and then it was focusing more on the
Just
base.
those, that's it.
So now
Base.
the difference now a year later is from here on, it probably picks up the pace as far as
Exactly,
install.
so the coaches don't have to spend all their time. Day one install, they expect all of their guys to know it. They expect them to know it, so they're going through it a little bit faster. They're teaching at another level now, you know? I mean, they're really getting in depth on why, and so now a defensive tackle understands what the defensive end's responsibility. And he understands why, if he's fitting here, what's that doing to the linebacker behind him? And the linebacker understands, if I fit here, what's that doing to the safety? You know, so they all have a better feel for base now, so that now when we start installing, you know, our 8-man and 7.5-man, 8-man fronts, all those things, they will all understand the fits and where they, you know, their role in the defense.
Do you think it will look that much different this year as far as what you put on the field? I mean, because you will have, I guess, more experience and more
Yeah.
bells and whistles, I guess, you can put in there
Yeah,
this year.
you'll see more things.
Yeah.
You'll see, you know, we will not be as basic. I would love to be able to go, you know, play 15 games and stay in base defense. I mean, we're pretty dang good, you know, but I don't think that's realistic, you know, and I mean, we can't do that on offense either, you know, so we have to tweak and add and subtract and you know, figure out what makes this team work.
I know it's kind of early. What do you seen that you like from Robert Morgan so far?
The things that we saw in film: quickness, acceleration. He can cover. You know, he's got good awareness. He you know, we hadn't gotten to the hitting yet, so I mean, you're going to see him in 1-on-1 drills and 7-on-7 and those things. So I mean, he definitely has those type of skills.
First day with the shoulder pads tomorrow, right?
Yes.
What's the thing that you're most looking forward to see from those guys in terms of?
Physicality. Yeah, I mean, we're going to be hitting them all, you know, and from this point on. I mean, you know, first 2 days in helmets and shorts, I mean, you know, everybody looks pretty running around and, you know, all that stuff. But, you know, we start playing football tomorrow. I mean, we get to start hitting people, and that's where the game changes. You know, I mean, it's, everybody's got a plan till they get hit in the mouth a few times, you know. And so that's when we start finding out really where we're at.
So physicality expectations change from year to year?
Oh, no. I mean, we want to be physical, you know, but you can't just talk about being physical. I mean, you have to practice being physical. I mean, so we're going to be smart at the same time. We know we want to get all our horses to the race, you know, so we got to be smart, but we also have to be physical enough to get those things done.
Coach, what kind of hang time and distance is Tom getting those runs?
I can't tell you what that is right now. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I just don't know the answer. I know he's hanging it up there pretty good right now, but I couldn't tell you what those times are because I haven't been keeping up with it.
Larry, there's a couple of notable guys not on the 105, Corbin Daly, Cameron Albright. Do you have a status update on those guys?
Yeah, I mean, we just didn't have room right now. You know, that's all there is. You only get 105, and you know, if something happens, then they'll have an opportunity to get in here. But right now, it's just the way it is.
Anything else for Coach? Coach, you talk about how these guys have to practice the way they play, the way they practice, and you talk about how where you show that you have guys out there with snakes, you have guys that are loose and taking.
Yeah, that has
stuff.
nothing to do with practice, though. We don't
No, but-
practice with snakes out there.
No, but what I'm saying is you see, this seems like a loose bunch. And I don't mean like out of control, I mean one that really likes each other. You like this team, you guys are taking selfies with each other. Talk about
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I really had never had a team that I didn't like and love. I mean, I love these guys. I love being around them. I mean, you couldn't be in this business without them. I mean, you got some characters now. I mean, you got Mac Hollins, who's a leader on this football team now, and he likes snakes and he likes all kind of weird things. And I mean, I don't really understand it all, but I listen, But what's fun is watching them interact and watch how much they love each other and how much fun they have together. It's not when practice is over with, everybody goes their separate ways. No, they enjoy hanging out together. They enjoy spending time together, giving each other hard times. They're just, they're like a bunch of the 120 brothers, and they, that doesn't mean that they don't fight each other also. I mean, but that's what families do. But they love each other and they're going to pull for each other in everything they do.
Is that the type you like to see?
No doubt. Yeah.
All right, thank you, folks.
This is the most questions you ever got about a punter before?
Yes.